Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Made for More podcast that's all about taking your life to the next level. I'm your host, Marina Efstathiadis, and today I have a very, very, very special guest. Her name is Lisa, and she is my life coach. She has helped me navigate through so many obstacles in my life, and I am so grateful to have met her and have her here today. And I'm grateful you guys get to know her right now as well. So Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm grateful to be on this journey with you too. So my name is Lisa, and I work as a holistic wellness coach. I own a clinic on Queens Quay. I support people with mental health issues, really anything to do with trauma response, a lot to do with gut issues, and any unhealed childhood wounds. So I use different modalities and I use different technologies to support the individual. So it's really tailored to the specific needs of each client that comes in.
Yeah, we did some actually light therapy in one of my sessions, and it was great. I almost fell asleep during it at one point, and I was like, "Whoa, where am I right now?"
And remember the work we did on your gut too, to calm the nervous system down.
Yeah,
which is so important when we are coming from a place of trauma.
100%. And today, guys, we're going to be diving into a little bit more of relationship talk and attachment styles and inner child wounds. So we're getting into it all. We're going to do the Q&A at the end. I know you guys gave me your questions. So we'll stick until the end. And Lisa will definitely be answering those for you.
With pleasure.
Yes. Okay, so let's get into it.
Okay.
Let's talk about attachment styles because they're a real thing. And I didn't even know about them up until like this year.
Okay, for sure. And attachment styles, even in my practice, are really new. And what's interesting is there's really 4 types of attachment styles. There's the avoidant attachment style. There's the anxiety attachment style. There's the fearful avoidant attachment style. And then there's the more of the balanced attachment style. So it's interesting because we kind of incorporate the different attachment styles. I don't think one person has just one of them. Depending on the childhood that they've come from, you incorporate issues from a parent or the environment. So we dominate in one, but we have a lot of the characteristics of the different ones.
Because I think it's like what, in your first 7 years, your just brain is a sponge.
Yeah. Low theta in the first 7 years, and even in the mother's womb. If your mother was a stressed mom, you're taking on her stress hormones. And they actually say that by the age of 9, if you had a really stressful experience in your mother's womb, you'll have ADHD. And this has been studied. And so it's so important to regulate our nervous system, especially as parents, because like you said, you're a sponge. And the first 7 years, you're taking on everyone's energies, and you don't have an opportunity to navigate what's okay and what's not okay. So it can be really challenging.
So for instance, I know personally I have an anxious attachment style, and I feel like anxious attachment style people actually attract avoidance.
Yes.
So how would you say like you can navigate through this, and is it like doom? So actually somebody did ask this question is, do you just have to go for somebody who has the same attachment style as you, or just a secure attachment style, or can it work?
So that's a great question. So if you are an anxious attachment, you're not okay and your partner is okay. You will attract that kind of dynamic. So what you'll do is you won't honor your needs. You will dismiss your boundaries and your values, and you'll put all your energy into someone else because you feel they'll make you safe. And what happens is you completely disconnect from yourself, and you end up betraying yourself. And that's why the relationship in the beginning will be amazing, and then after the honeymoon phase and after you're back into your subconscious patterns, people can't figure out why is this not working. So you asked, is it doomed? No. The really important thing is that when you get into a relationship, we don't like to bring up the stuff from the past, but if we don't ask our partner if they've done any work, or if they're in touch with their childhood wounds, or even their own inner wounds, this stuff will surface. So it's like we want to look like we've got it all together. We look perfect. Everything's great. Well, it's just a facade. So it's like, let's get real from the beginning so this stuff doesn't show up down the road. And that's why relationships don't work.
100%. So if someone's basically not willing to put in that work, then at that point, a person should maybe consider walking away from it because they're betraying themselves.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to actually say, yeah, I came from an abused childhood. What was your childhood like? And I don't want to generalize, but the men that I work with are not really in touch with their feelings as women are. It's not all women that are in touch with their feelings. But when a question is posed, like, what was your childhood like? A guy's going to be like, why do you need to know about my childhood?
Yeah.
So I say to women, when you first meet a man, ask him if he's done any consciousness work. Because even though it's not the most glamorous question to ask, you need to ask this because, like I said, it'll be beautiful in the beginning and lovey and romantic, and then the patterns start to show up because you can't hide them for too long.
Yeah. So how would you say people who have, for instance, because a lot of the people on the poll had a lot of them have anxious attachment styles. So what can they do to try to stop themselves from getting triggered? Because you can have an anxious attachment style, but as long as you're not triggered, I guess, by your partner.
So that's interesting. We will always have triggers, but what's really important is to own our triggers and say, I'm feeling triggered right now by the situation that's occurring. And also to honor our feelings. That's so important because if we aren't in touch with our feelings, we're going to project, you're making me feel this way. You're doing this to me. And then the other person will feel attacked and judged. And then it's just war.
Yeah.
So honoring our partner while owning our own stuff takes a lot. It takes courage. It takes vulnerability to say, you know what, I'm sorry I hurt you, or I'm sorry that the things that I said impacted you this way. But this starts a relationship on a really good foundation because we need to know that we're safe. So really about being vulnerable, and it's important to kind of gauge, is my partner showing up for me when I'm sad? How does my partner show up for me? Do they kind of run, or do they step in and say, like, what do you need? Because this is going to show up.
Yes.
We can't avoid that.
So a partner that basically runs, would you say that they're more of an avoidant?
For sure. But they've got the traits of an avoidant because the avoidant is, I'm okay, you're not okay. And they will be super triggered by somebody who's needy.
Yeah.
Because they're like, no, you're infringing on my independence.
Yeah.
So that's where the challenge comes in, right?
Yeah.
And everything's energy. So we will feel beautiful energies between people, but then we've got to go a little deeper into the wounds.
And so how would you say people can go into their wounds? Once
again, when you meet someone, it's about really being transparent and saying, look, I feel an attraction for you. I just want you to know that I have, I come from a childhood where I'm not connected to my parents, or I had a lot of trauma. And are you okay with this? Like, if I need you to be there for me, if I'm having a breakdown, can you show up for me? Yeah. And again, it's not glamorous.
No.
But if we don't show up real, these things will always come up down the road. And it's like, who are you? Like, no, I'm the person that you met, only I was pretending to be somebody
that I'm not.
Exactly, that I wanted you to see.
And why do people do that, do you think?
Fear of being alone. There's so much underneath our story and our beliefs about ourselves is the fear of being alone and the fear of not being loved, the fear of not mattering to someone. So we'll wish for that and attract that in a partner. And also depending on our relationships with our parents and the environment. If it was not a healthy environment, then we're going to be looking. It's all about familiarity. We want healthy relationships, but we're attracted to the familiar. Which is crazy sometimes because it's like, why would I want another unhealthy relationship? Because we need certainty in our life. And so we'll gravitate to what's familiar, even if it is fully dysfunctional, until we do the inner work and we break those patterns.
So for an avoidant, what would you say their childhood would look like on an average?
Yeah. So they would have to, that's a person whose environment wasn't totally safe, but they learned how to self-regulate.
So maybe like dealing with things on their own, not really expressing themselves to their parents.
And being able to navigate their emotions and being okay with it.
Yeah.
Whereas an anxiety attachment, no way. They're like running to people to just let me know that I'm okay. That's why women who have anxious attachment will call their friends. What do you think about this?
Guilty. I've been so guilty. Hey, Lisa, can I send you a voice note and can you call me, please? I need to talk to you about something.
I've done it too. I'm a lot better than I used to be, but it's like, oh yeah, there's that pattern again for sure.
Honestly, you've helped me so much though, because I have acknowledged now when I'm getting anxious about something, I will literally acknowledge it. And I'm like, okay, I'm allowed to feel this right now. I do that practice that you tell me. I do my breathing and I have felt incredible these last 2.5 weeks because we know that I've had a bit of a rough couple of months. But yeah, that you've really helped me.
Thank you. Well, you know what? You make it easy and you're so coachable.
Thank you.
You came in basically saying, okay, I need support and please give me the tools to support me. So
yeah,
it flowed.
And you're also very available, which is I'm so grateful for. So guys, I'm not just saying this, like huge shout out. And also she's in Toronto. Like how easy is that? Like you're right there. Somebody actually reached out to me on Instagram and was like, oh my God, I also go see her. And I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Such a small world.
It's such a small world.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
When people know that there's support and the environment at Master Your Mind is so safe.
Yeah.
As you walked in and said, wow, because it's not your traditional therapy session.
Yeah, it smells great in there too. I love the smell.
Well, when you leave, it smells like you, so it's really nice.
She's always smelling my perfume and I never smell it. It's literally a buckrut dupe, guys. It's called Dossier. Buy it. It's like $60 USD.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It smells great. Like, why am I going to spend $300 on a bottle?
No way. No, for sure.
Right? Whatever.
Absolutely.
So for anxious people then, what would you say their upbringing is? So constantly seeking validation from their parents, maybe?
Parents who weren't available, parents who were going through their own trauma. And if there's a child who's experiencing pain or fear, nobody's coming for them. And then what happens with children is they create a story. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. So they will move right towards somebody who helps them to feel good enough. And that's like how they look. And unfortunately, that's, it's imaged, right? First, until we can go into our heart and really go deep into, okay, what do I need? What's my truth, right? What do I value? So yeah, it's really about honoring, like you said, when you first came to see me, it's about acknowledging the feelings that are showing up because all feelings are for feeling. And where do you notice them in your body? Because we're not taught to honor a feeling, especially when you're coming from an anxious attachment style. When you felt a feeling, you were like pushing it down or running away because you didn't want to feel it. And if your environment wasn't safe, that would definitely be something that it becomes part of our physiology.
Yeah.
And so when we get older and we have our triggers, okay, what's the feeling and where is it? And like you had said too, allowing the feelings to show up, because that is so important. Again, we're not taught to allow these uncomfortable feelings and that we're safe to feel them. But once you allow that, that's the transformation.
Yeah. And acknowledging and being like, okay, why am I feeling like this right now? And how can I actually detach myself from this feeling?
Well, and it's interesting. So it's not even, the detaching comes when when we're afraid to feel it, but it's saying, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? And even the why question, sometimes it's like, why do I feel this way? It makes us feel like it's wrong, right? So what am I feeling? Okay, I'm feeling disconnected. Where is it? Where's it in the body? And actually physically touching it, because then you're connected to your body, because all those unhealed emotions from childhood get stored in our body. It's like a lot of people will feel them in their heart, in their gut, or in their head, because most people operate in their head and they're not in their body. So that's really, really important.
That's interesting that you say that, because I actually know a lot of people who, like, when they're in stress mode, they're getting constant headaches. Yeah. Makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. And when you do, and I do body work and gut work, because the gut and the brain are connected, right? So when we release any of the blocks in the abdomen area, oh my gosh, it's like, you see clearly.
We love you secure people, because like you guys are just easy, and we don't need to really, I guess, talk much on that.
For sure. So that's what I meant at the beginning. Secure attachment are people who have a lot of balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
need. Yeah, I don't get it, but like I will.
For sure. But the more you connect to yourself, the more you'll notice you attract those kinds of people in your world who just came from an environment where it was safe and people were there to meet their needs. Yeah. And even if there was trauma, there was someone there who said, like, what do you need? You're allowed to feel. what it is you feel.
And I do want to add, guys, just because you have an anxious attachment style or avoidant, it doesn't mean that you had bad parents growing up. It means that they also probably have their wounds, right? And, you know, life, if you have siblings and stuff like that, sometimes the older child could get neglected because then there's the younger children, right?
For sure. And to add to what you're saying, what's really interesting is that as simple as that sounds, the child who does get neglected will create a story. And it's not a logical story. It's like, oh, my brother's being paid more attention to than me. I'm not important enough. So unless that story is questioned, it becomes part of our belief system. And that makes us who we are. So it's like, if I'm not important enough, I'm going to make sure I attract somebody who either doesn't believe I'm important enough, or we attract that person who helps us to feel important, but that triggers us because it's like, but I don't feel important. And you're helping me to feel important. So that's the work.
And then, so is that like mirroring too? Can we talk about mirroring and what that kind of means?
Yes. Okay. So everything being energy,
Okay.
right? So going back to what I was saying before, we gravitate to what's familiar. So if we attract a partner, it's twofold.
Okay.
I believe our higher self knows what our truth is and what is in our best interest. But then we also have the trauma wounds that haven't been healed. So we will attract in a partner that which we need to heal.
Okay.
And that our partner's going to have wounds that are similar to us that and they get triggered by us. So it's this triggering back and forth.
Okay.
And this is the willingness for both people to go into their physiology, into their heart and soul, and start to get in touch with their feelings. It's so important because once you heal or acknowledge the feeling and can move through it, then it's like a layer has been lifted. And then those triggers aren't as prominent anymore. So
and it could work. So it's just about
it's a willingness. It takes a willingness, and it takes courage. It really does. But these are the conversations to have with your partner. I feel a connection with you, and I'm really afraid. I'm really afraid to be vulnerable with you.
And if they don't receive it, guys, in your initial contact, like you're saving yourself years or months of disappointment. So why not just have that uncomfortable conversation from the beginning?
For sure. But you know what? The interesting fact about that is a guy who's good looking and is giving you attention. It's like, I don't want to push this guy away.
Yeah.
So you have to be really mindful of what are my values.
Yeah.
And I'm not crossing my values or my boundaries, right? So that's
boundaries.
Super important.
Yeah.
They're non-negotiables.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about boundaries because I feel like a lot of women, even and men, don't set boundaries in relationships. So,
well, that's the thing again, right? Because you've got to be vulnerable and say, this is okay, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, but we want to show up like we're perfect.
Yeah.
So it takes, there's the courage word again. It takes a sense of self to say, I'm willing to get into a relationship. Okay. I've been single for a while. I'm willing to get into a relationship. But this is what I'm going to create as my non-negotiables.
Yeah.
But you have to be really aware of it. It takes mindfulness, right?
Yeah.
To not betray yourself with that. So
and self-worth, I feel
100%.
like. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're just like letting things slide constantly, you're actually like lowering your vibration. And then what you're doing is you're just attracting more lower vibrations into your life.
100%. And then those feelings that you're not honoring, they show up. Yeah. And it's like an outburst and your partner goes, whoa, like what was that? At the smallest thing, right?
Yeah.
Because we're never upset for the reasons we think. Yeah. And it's like, why did I just react to that? Because you haven't honored what your truth is.
Yeah. And if you're not, and you actually had said something to me, if you don't hold yourself in a high regard, how do you expect anyone in your life to hold you in a high regard?
Absolutely.
Not even just partners.
Friendships, for sure.
Yeah.
And when you start to do this work, you notice how dynamics in relationships change.
Yeah.
Which can be scary a little bit because these are people that you've known, but maybe you just don't vibe with and you never did.
Yeah.
But you held on to them because there's the mirroring. You had that fear and they've got the fear too. So we just collude in our dysfunction together.
Okay, so a lot of the questions that are being asked is, I'm dating an avoidant, I'm an anxious, my partner, was showing me so much love in the beginning, and now they're just completely detached, and I'm feeling like, am I not, like, what am I doing? And what if one of the questions was, is if someone cheats in the relationship, is that person likely going to cheat again?
So we don't know what a partner's going to do, okay? They can say, no, I'm sorry, I'm totally committed to you. But the actions speak a lot louder than just the words. This is where we go back to the beginning and to talk about our non-negotiables. So at the beginning, look, I'm the kind of woman, if you cheat on me once, we're done. Now, if they haven't had this conversation and this is a relationship that's been going on for a while and the partner does cheat, it's a conversation about, okay, I love you and I know that you expressed you made a mistake and it won't happen again. Now we got to do the work. And men, like I said at the beginning, a lot of men, not all of them, they don't want to do the work. They just want to say the sorry, and the sorry doesn't even hold any weight. And it's about really going into their childhood wounds and their patterns.
And what about men that get defensive?
Ooh. Yeah, look out for that. What are they trying to hide, right? And not all the time, too, because some men, they know when they get called out, it's like, I have to own my stuff and own why they did it. And again, that goes back to having to be vulnerable. And men are like, oh, it only happened once or it won't happen again. It's so important that women don't devalue themselves. And like really stand for what they believe in. Because if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything, as my amazing friend shared with me.
I love that.
Yeah, if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. So, but it's really true. So it's, once again, creating a new set of commitments in a relationship. You can create new commitments all the time. It's like people can. It's interesting. I took a really great workshop, and the two co-facilitators were married, I think, like 5 different times in their relationship. They just said, we need to get married again to recommit. Not like
I
actual,
love that.
but just
it's like a rebirth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
For sure. Because, we can become complacent in our relationship. So how do we stay on track? How do we stay focused? And you had asked me a question, too, about what happens if you lose the passion in the relationship, right? And that can happen. But it's, what's the commitment? And there's a great saying that what's missing from a relationship is what you're not bringing to it. So it's about really checking in with yourself, because if you're not feeling the vibe, chances are your partner's not feeling the vibe. Don't wait for your partner to say, okay, this isn't working, or I'm feeling disconnected. It's like, what's your commitment in the relationship? And really reinstating your commitment to each other. Maybe once a week, having a conversation about, what do you think is do we need work on this particular area in our relationship, or why aren't we being intimate? Because if these things aren't talked about, then that's when the man cheats or the woman finds another partner. When our needs are not being met, it's so important to check in with our partner. Do you feel like it's interesting. I'll just segue for a second. Women need to be seen, heard, and to be made safe. Men need validation, appreciation, and respect. So if these things are not happening in the relationship, chances are, without even consciously creating it, it's like, why am I attracting these men? Like, all of a sudden, these men are talking to me, because this is what happens when we don't honor and actually continue to recreate that commitment with our partner. Like, I'm not feeling like my needs are being met, or do you feel respected? These are questions to ask that are really important.
And when do you think it's the time to like give up? Like, if you're communicating and you're being vocal and like what you need, because women naturally, we are a lot more vocal and like what we need, and men are a little bit more, standoffish. So when would you say, because a lot of women are actually saying, so, my partner doesn't plan dates anymore. My partner isn't doing this anymore. And okay, if you've expressed that you need these things, then what?
But you see, it's interesting, because just because you've expressed it to your partner, where are you stepping in and creating the dates, right? It's like we put it on our partner. There's 2 people. It's not, the equation isn't 50% of your 100%. It's 100% of your 50%. Like, we both need to do the work, right? And it's really easy to say, well, you're not doing that. Well, okay, but where's your part in it? And it's not the blame game or anything like that. It's like, let's get back to why are we in this relationship together? Because we love each other and we're committed to a future. And are we supporting each other in our highest, which is important. So we feel it. Going back to the question you said, how do you know when it's done? Because you know.
You just know.
You know when, if we're committed to having counseling once a week, are we showing up together? If we're committed to going out once a week, are we going on a date once a week?
If we set boundaries with each other, are we sticking to those boundaries and respecting them?
100%. And that goes back to breaking old patterns because we can go back into a rut. And unless we are really committed, it's easy to fall out of that commitment, that place again. So.
Okay, well, we covered a lot of the questions, but I have a few more that people ask, so I'm just going to read them here. Sure. How can you get a guy to be more expressive?
So going back to what I was saying about men need to feel appreciated, respected, and validated, men need to feel safe as well. So it's saying, this is what I need. When you feel like your back's up against the wall, what do you need? How can I show up for you? It's really about getting into a person's heart. Now, some men may not even know what that is. And that we can go back to love languages, right? We didn't talk about love languages.
Ooh, we should talk about love languages quickly.
Love
okay.
Languages are great. So there's 5 love languages.
Okay.
And we typically have 2. The first is acts of service.
Okay.
Gifts, words of affirmation.
Yep.
Quality time and touch.
Touch.
And the love languages are great because I may be a touch person. You may be a quality time person. And what happens in relationships is because I'm a touch, I think you're a touch. But this is where we listen to our partner and say, just because I'm a touch, you may not be a touch, but I need to honor what you do need. And then our partner feels valued and understood. Really important.
So someone asked, is having different love languages as a couple normal and healthy? And how do you navigate that? And do we need to change them so that we're on the same page?
Okay, so it's wonderful to have different needs, but it's about how do we honor our partner's needs and respect our partner's needs. So if you're not a gift person and I am, I need to respect that you don't want gifts.
Yeah.
Even if I think, but let me just buy you something. No, you want quality time.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to change our partner. That is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
It's accepting our partner. Now, if we get to the place where our partner we just don't vibe anymore, then we can talk about that. But it's definitely not about trying to change your partner at all.
Yeah, 100%. I've been in past relationships where, someone was gifts of service, and that's not my love language. Like, I don't care if you buy me like the nicest thing ever. It just doesn't do anything for me.
And that, for sure. That's where
I could buy it for myself.
Absolutely, for sure. But this is where, do our partners actually listen to us?
Do they actually know?
And and if they know you, they'll know, right? How much attention are they really paying to, she said, I'd love to go out for dinner in a couple weeks or whatever. It's like listening to what your partner needs and honoring that. So, it's funny. I took a course and the facilitator said, sometimes I wonder about my husband. Like I walk in the room and I'm raising my shoulders and I'm touching my shoulders. And she's like, you would think he would know I need a massage. But men cannot read our minds. It's like we have to ask for it. Oh, can you please rub my shoulders because they're in pain? A guy's like, what's for dinner, right?
Yeah.
So, and then what we do is we say, you don't care. So we really need to be vocal about what our needs are. And this will tell you and show you, is my partner listening to me?
And if they're not, ladies and gentlemen, but I feel like it's mostly the ladies who express what they need, then you got to make some decisions and have some self-worth and hold yourself in that high regard and set those boundaries, because this could be years, it could be months, and this is your life. Like you want a future, right? Like if you want to be a mom one day, if you want to get married and that's what you want, then you really got to ask yourself, like, am I with the right person that can actually provide that for me?
Yeah.
And it's not about giving up right away on each other.
It's not. And I think something that's really important is we're so fixated on how the relationship looks, the form. The form of relationship changes. So we may not be in a romantic relationship, but our relationship, we're still, we coexist together. I care about you, you care about me, but it's just changing. The form is changing. It's like we spend a lot of time with someone and hopefully it can be amicable when the split happens. And why does this person need to be out of my life?
Yeah.
If it's a mutually agreeable situation.
Yeah, like I know couples that have gotten divorced and have kids and they still like do family barbecues together. And I find that so beautiful.
Maturity.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because why put your kids through the struggle? Like, I mean, I don't personally, my parents have been married for 38 years. So like would do anything to not get divorced in the future. You know what I mean? But I'm not frowning upon it either. But personally, like that's I guess a boundary for me that I would set with my husband is like, we're going to do everything in our power to never get to that point.
To stay committed and to stay in love with each other for sure.
Yeah.
But that takes that willingness again.
Yeah, I agree.
And a commitment. Absolutely.
I do believe though, if there's like any form of abuse or like infidelity or like type of stuff, then it's like.
Those are red flags that you really got to check in with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you get hit once, that's a deal breaker. It's like you don't give another chance, right?
Yeah.
Because then you devalue yourself and then you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got away with it once, but that's somebody who's so emotionally dysregulated.
Yeah.
So you want to, again, check in, like, does my partner know how to regulate himself or herself, right? For sure.
What about men who like constantly are seeking validation and attention? Because we see that a lot these days. Like they love the girls all around them, but
for sure. And that's a man who is insecure. And we all have, some insecurity, and it's not about putting a person down like that, but that's where the partner says, look, your patterns, your behaviors are making me feel really uncomfortable. Are you willing to look into why you need this external validation? And, you can ask those questions, like be really transparent. And the key is to not make it personal.
Yeah.
If a man strays, it's not about the woman. It just isn't.
We need to clarify that right now, because women think it's like, what's wrong with me? What's going
pretty
on?
Enough.
Yeah.
Do I not have a good enough body?
Yeah.
And it's so not about that.
No.
It's a man's need to get his ego stroked.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time, the woman that the man cheats on is not as attractive as the woman now.
100%. I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah. I've seen it firsthand. Well, with friends and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's true. You're so right. And it's men operating with their ego.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of the generation now and
social media,
men are so desensitized.
Yeah.
And it's like you go out in the world and your values just are non-existent.
Yeah.
And for a man too, it's like, no, I told my partner, my girlfriend, I'm not going to cheat on her, but there's a really pretty woman who's
giving me attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, check in with your values, your non-negotiables. It's like, yes, I love him, but I love me more.
Yeah.
And this is not okay for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And ladies, like if your man cheated on you, for instance, like feel sorry for him that he's so wounded and in his feminine, that he's seeking that attention, and honestly pray for him and feel bad for him, because again, it has nothing to do with you.
And that, again, to bring up the point, that is so key, because nothing's personal. It just isn't.
Yeah.
But that comes again from those childhood patterns, right? Of my parent doesn't pick you up, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
We always, we revert back to I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough.
100%. Okay, so I would say one more question.
Sure.
Anxious attachment style. Okay, anxious attachment style. How can we regulate this?
So awareness.
Yeah.
Really checking in with I'm not okay, you're okay. And what am I not okay with? What is the feeling that's showing up for me that I just want to avoid? And allowing it, honoring it. So this is where you go into your body and taking time to meditate, we didn't even talk about meditation, to regulate your nervous system. It's so important because when your nervous system is regulated, you can connect to what's going on inside you a lot easier. But really checking in with what you're feeling. When you honor your feelings, then you'll be like, oh, okay, I can take care of me. So I'm actually feeling good and you're good too. Instead of, I'm not good, you have to fill this void for me. So really going within and honoring whatever it is that you feel in a safe environment.
Yeah.
Because we really need to know that if I'm feeling a certain way, can a friend support me in a healthy way? Not like a needy, I'm so needy, because that pattern can become really overused too. It's like, here's my friend again complaining about this, or
codependency and stuff.
That's
yeah.
the word. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's good to have a great circle of friends that you can, and I feel like women nowadays are supporting each other so much more than they ever have. I'm so proud to be a woman. Honestly, we all lift each other up. We support each other.
Well, you've attracted that group of women. There are women out there who it's like, oh, you know what? That's not a reality. It's like,
yeah, there's definitely girls. I've actually witnessed it firsthand. Not girls that will probably hook up with your boyfriend and then also like be nice to your face.
For sure.
And those are just not people that are in my tribe.
No, and I love that about you and what you've attracted because it's a demonstration of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, honey.
Thank you.
You deserve it.
I think we answered a lot. Even guys, we answered a lot of the Q&As even throughout. I kind of was just like throwing them in. So if you guys want, we can have Lisa on again another time and we can get into more stuff. Yeah, we'll air this and then any questions, just comment, do whatever you can, reach out and we can definitely do a part 2.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. All right. Well, by the way, we're also wearing Made razor tanks right now. I'm wearing the blue. She's wearing the matcha green. And yeah, just had to shout out Made for this.
Love it. And the quality, it's beautiful.
Thank you. So you can find Lisa on, let's say your website as well.
So it's masteryourmind.ca.
Okay.
And my email is lisa@masteryourmind.ca.
Okay.
You can text me or email me and
yeah, if you put it in the comments and I can actually even reach out and send you her contact or I'll have her tagged in this as well so you can reach out to her personally. But guys, when I tell you, she has literally transformed me and made me, and it's going to keep going. Like it's just going to be unstoppable. Yeah. And I'm so excited and yeah, I'm really grateful that I met you. I Googled like her and I Googled a bunch of places actually. And she was like one of the first to reach out to me that night. And she took time to actually have a conversation with me, even though it wasn't like a paid session or anything. Cause I go in person. I like actually seeing her, but you do also Zoom phone calls. Yeah. Okay.
I really care. Like I'm so passionate about supporting people. And I know you felt that too.
You took 15 minutes of your time at like 8:00 at night calling me after probably working all day. And you were just, it was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm really grateful I met you.
To spend time with, honey.
Thank you. Well, guys, that's the end of this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next Monday. It's every other Monday. I never get this right. I don't know why. But anyways, thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Okay.